he sticks with his own vision. He sticks with his own ideas. I'm really excited to hear the rest of the album. What I heard sounds great.
Andre 3000, #1 without a solo rap album.
You can spit.
Can you rap or can you not rap?
50 Cent, Alicia Keys, Kendrick Lamar, Megan Thee Stallion, J-Lo, Missy Elliott, Nelly, Cardi B, Doja Cat, Future, Post Malone, SZA, Sean Paul, Chris Brown. These are the names that did not make the top 25. So shout out to this brother right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Big time Dame did a big time cover story. If you guys haven't, make sure you check it out right now on Billboard.com with ASAP Rocky.
Sir.
Had a fire profile piece, man.
Pretty motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the album's supposed to come out this Friday. It's going to
Friday.
be pushed coming out this fall. But, bro, talk about your experience kicking it with Rocky, how that was.
It was great. I've known Rocky, not known him. I've had the pleasure of watching his career grow from the moment he released Purple Swag to now. I've worked at publications where we've covered him. We've had him on the cover for various albums, and I've been fortunate enough to be close enough to see the different machinations of his career, and I've always been a fan. I think he is, to me, an originator. He is somebody who, and I told him as much, I think he has such an innate sense of self that a lot of rappers don't have, that it's refreshing to see him work. It's refreshing to see the things he does. I know it doesn't always connect, and I know a lot of people think that he should have probably been bigger and that he could have done more with his career, but I think what he envisions himself doing is a bit more difficult in the sense that he's always trying to do something new, and that's not as easy it is for everybody. For Kanye, he's like always trying to do something new, and he just pours out of him. Whereas Rocky, I think it takes him a bit of time to like land on what that new thing is and to get that out of there. Like with this album, we talked about Don't Be Dumb. He talked about Grim, which in his mind is like an abbreviation of sorts for German expressionism and ghetto futurism, and how he's melding those two things together. And I thought that was very interesting. I think him being a father has changed him. He's much more calm. He was very just happy at the shoot, and not that he's been historically grouchy or anything like that, but it's work. And he was very affable, very friendly, and very open. He was like joking around. He joked about disliking how much his kids watch Coco Melon, which I could relate to. And talked about the parenting styles between him and Rihanna, and just the way he talks about Rihanna is amazing. Right. He talks about her like it's like, yeah, it's my girl, and
complex.
It's such a flex to just to be like, yeah, it's my girl. I love her dearly, and she's the mother of my kids. But yeah, that's just who she is.
I know you thought it was crazy when he was like, yeah, I want to raise my kids in Harlem.
Yeah, we were one of the scenes of the story. We shot a video in Harlem, and he took us around the neighborhood, which was crazy because there was like a street fair going on, and he gets out the car, sneaks into Mel's restaurant, and when everyone realizes that he's there, it just goes crazy. And he's like, I want to walk you guys around, which I thought was just nuts. And even crazier is that he stopped and like did everything. Everyone who gave him a phone to take a selfie with him, he did it. There were like some old people who didn't know how to work their phones fast enough, and he was like, it's all right, like I got you. And he would like help them turn their camera around. He was very sweet, and you can tell how much he just loves Harlem. Like he just really felt at ease. He was there with one security guard. Wow. And he left him a lot. He was just like walking without him, and he just felt so at ease and so comfortable. And he was like, yeah, I want my kids to experience this. I want my kids to live here. And I'm like, bro, that's great. Like, I like Harlem, and I'm sure you love Harlem, but it's like your kids are already living such a different life than you lived.
Yeah.
Right. He took us to his building, that was across the street from Morningside Park, and this guy, it's like your kid's bedroom is probably the size of the apartment you grew up in.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have handlers that are probably at their every beck and call.
But even you saying that, right? Like I think about it. I remember when I was watching your interview, like his brother got clipped
on that block.
Yeah.
So him still being able to walk around with one security guard,
Bro, he loves Harlem, bro.
and still, that's
like it's like the old Jay-Z line. It's like they say Jigga can't go back home. Like when I heard that when I was back home, like he's like I come back all the time, and at first I was like, no, you don't, because people wouldn't go this crazy if you came back all the time. But because he was so comfortable there, I was like, you do come back here all the time. Like he was just waltzing around like it was nothing. Like he was just like, yeah, this is my block. This is where I came up. This is where my friend lived. This is where we used to go. This is where I used to bring my dates. My school was right here. I used to go shopping right here. And he felt at ease as if one of you were to go back home and just be like, yeah, this is where I feel most comfortable. And I thought that was really cool. And it just seems genuine. He seems like a really genuine person. He seems like he only cares about, his vision for things, and he like believes in that vision. We talked about it on the show before, and I told him directly, I was like, yo, one of the things that's so impressive to me is that you have, by all accounts, the hottest rapper out right now, the guy who all of the kids love in Playboy Carti. You signed him, and if you were anybody else, Ye, Drake, hell, even Kendrick maybe, like your next, I would expect Don't Be Dumb to just be a Carti album with you on it.
right.
Yeah.
I would expect Don't Be Dumb to just be 12 songs that has Carti's name in the credits, and that sound like whatever the next step in Whole Lotta Red is. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't lean on that, even though that would be so easy for him and so available to him. He sticks with his own vision. He sticks with his own ideas, and he tries to push his ideas forward in a way that I really respect. And I'm really excited to hear the rest of the album. What I heard sounds great. He has Danny Elfman producing on it, which is nuts. So yeah, a song with Danny Elfman and Alchemist. I don't know what that will sound like, but I'm excited to hear it.
That's a lineup.
And that's like, it's hard to thread a needle like that, and I think it's like only someone like Rocky can do that. Someone who has who's ingesting all of these different inputs can only make that kind of output. So it was dope. I hope this album does well. I know people are expecting it to be like a definitive kind of remark on his career. Like, does he still matter?
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna ask. Like, and I've mentioned this to you guys. I just always wondered with the ASAP collective, mainly Ferg and Rocky. Is that urgency? Is that love still there
For them, for each other, or for the music?
For the music.
I think for Rocky it is. I think for Rocky, I can't speak for Ferg. I haven't talked to Ferg in a while. I know Ferg loves making music. Ferg probably has more hits than all of them put together.
Mm-hmm.
On a record with Jaylen Brown now.
I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We'll
Rapping with NBA cats.
We'll save that for another conversation.
Yeah.
But I think Rocky still loves creating. I think he still loves to push himself to make new things. He just loves art. He loves creating, and he just loves like seeing how far he can push his creativity. And a lot of people, kind of roll their eyes when you say that type of stuff. But if you look back at hip hop culture over the past 15 years and look at the major cultural artifacts that have been left behind as we move forward, think about like the leather joggers and think about, things like that. A lot of those came from A$AP Rocky.
Yeah.
He's the guy that was like wearing these things and doing these things and making these things that people were like, oh, that sounds weird. Like, why would you put those things together?
Yeah.
Why would you make pants out of that?
And didn't Ye always gave a nod to Rocky from the fashion too.
Yeah. And so, I think he just loves creating, and I think music is, one of his preferred formats, and I think he understands that he's getting old. He called himself an OG a lot when we spoke. But yeah, it's crazy to me. He's 35. He sees himself as no longer like the young upstart, but he understands that his role in the game has changed. So I'm excited to see what that person makes going forward, and I think I think there's still space in the game for A$AP Rocky.
Kyle, do you think Rocky still got a classic album in him?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I think just based on that interview and just based on the way he was speaking about his general interests in film, in music, in fashion, I think they're the makings of a classic album still like in him. Whether or not it lands as a classic in the moment that it drops is probably another conversation. I definitely anticipate him dropping something that we really fully appreciate 5 years later, 10 years later, and might not get all the acclaim and love that it should upon release, but that's kind of the risk you run when you're on the cutting edge and you're a kind of artist that Rocky is.
Yeah.
It's a great point. I mean, TBD, Don't Be Dumb's going to come out this fall. I just hope the brother sticks to it, man.
I think he will. I think the album is basically done. I think he's going to stick to it. He wants it to come out. He really wants it to come out.
That's good to know.
When he talked about all the leaks that came out, he was really like hurt by it. You could tell like in his face that he was like, oh, he's not one of those guys that just pours out music.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like always just like, oh, fuck that, I can make 10 more of these. He's like more like a Pusha, where he's like, I make these songs,
Like these 12.
and I believe in these songs.
Yeah.
And if one of them gets loose, then it's like, fuck, I gotta keep toiling away until I land on something that I really believe in.
Yeah.
Which I respect. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, A$AP, we are rooting for you, brother. Don't be dumb. Let's get it on this side of the year.
Yes, please.
I mean, can't wait any longer. Switching over, let's go and talk about Complex's best Atlanta rappers of all time.
Shout out Complex.
List. Yeah, shout out to Complex. They had the social media game in a little tizzy with this one right here. If one of y'all, could y'all bring up like the top? Cause I'm curious. I want to not just jump into number one.
Here.
So we'll give them the top 5 real quick.
All right. You want to say or 5 through 1?
5 through 1. Yeah. So number 5, Jeezy. 4, Gucci. 3, T.I. 2, Future. And 1, Andre 3000. This is a top 50 GOAT list for Atlanta. They had some notable people in there. Kyle's Girl Lotto, I believe, was number 25.
Yeah.
Already making noise. Gentlemen, Andre 3000, number 1 without a solo rap album.
Yes, sir.
That is fucking nuts.
You can spit, you can spit. I don't really know what else there is to say about it.
Can you rap or can you not rap?
There we go.
Yeah,
Do you have hits or do you not have hits? Do you
It's
have
not
classic
both.
records or do you not have classic records?
There we go.
But the floor is yours.
I mean, listen. Again, shout out to the good people at Complex for putting this list together. I am a huge Andre 3000 fan. I think he is a perennial wordsmith. What he's been able to do with Big Boy, obviously. They're the greatest group of all time. We know that. I get lost. Don't do that. Don't do that, Emily.
Even Emily's like,
no.
no.
No, because I remember, and shout out to us. We did do our groups list. We did name him number 1, but no. I think Andre, man, like his feature verses, all time.
Yeah.
I was just playing freaking Players Ball this morning. Like, I could spit that off the top. I think what befuddles me so crazy is you do not have a singular body of work to put against somebody like a T.I. who has 11 albums himself. I'm going to say probably 3 classics solo. Somebody like a Jeezy, TM 101, ATL Staple,
I think T.I. has 3 classics.
Paper Trail,
Yeah.
Trap music. I'm going to say King.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like King a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
You could even say he has at least his 2.
we can, yeah.
Hey, you don't want to give him shit, don't
No,
you?
I love T.I. I love T.I. I'm saying, I was just curious.
Your Atlanta Rushmore at least? Wow.
Hey,
And y'all talk about me. He's not even
that-
Let me finish my point.
we
Yeah.
can go back. We can go back.
But I think, when you're talking about individuals, it would help to have a body of work, a singular body of work to represent that output and accolade. He has a fucking flute album, and it has 0 rapping on that album.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to discredit, again, what 3 Stacks has been able to do from a Outkast standpoint, a feature standpoint. But I just think knowing that these cats, somebody who are super prolific, like a Young Thug who's on that list, it kind of puts him, lower on my list. His influence is nuts. We know that. His ubiquity in ATL is fucking crazy. But I think he has to have something besides a solo flute album. And some people count The Love Below, which is fair.
I was gonna say,
but it's not a Andre 3000.
Yeah, it's a disc and
You know
a
what I'm
double
saying?
album that's his.
So that's where my complaint comes in. Love 3 Stacks, but like everybody, we yearn for that solo project.
I
But
think
congrats.
for the purposes of this list, we can call Love Below, as in like that disc and the double.
Why are we playing by technicalities?
Is it a technicality?
It's not a solo album.
It's a disc that is solo.
That he made on his own.
Come on,
So-
but it's billed under Outkast. Yeah.
Yes, that disc though is a 3 Stacks
Yo,
disc.
I love low. Yo, I can't wait to lower the bar for Cardi B. Let's do this. 'Cause the way we
lower
lower
the
bars
bar?
over here,
Y'all already lowered the bar.
I'll say that.
Don't even get me started on that one.
I'll say.
the way we lower the bar.
I don't
for
even
cats?
think we need to like delve into technicalities to argue Andre as number one. And I think Future is an incredible artist. I think he had an incredible run. A lot of people that I've seen arguing Future have been like, look at the run he's on, and he's been going for X amount of years, and it's like, yes, but that argument posits that he's been going at a time when like he's outlasted Outkast or Andre, which is not true. They're like 2 different eras of music, basically. Outkast had a crazy run. They went for almost 13 years when they were
and guess who's on his 13th year right now?
yeah. But it's like it's
Number 1 album this year, by the way.
It's
2 of
weird
them.
to me to tout one 13-year run and not another 13-year run.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
I would say in Andre's defense that I would say Outkast has 3 or 4 albums that are better than any Future album.
But it was
I'm
a
just-
collaborative
I'm
effort,
just
bro.
saying.
And that's why they're both in the
I'm
top
just
10.
saying. But it's when you start, and I think I said this to you over text, like when you start, in my opinion, when you start to debate the rigor of creativity, it gets slippery. When you start to try to peel away how one person contributes to something versus somebody else, how ideas are formed, how art is actually put together into the console, I think things start to get a little tricky because we weren't there. We don't know how these albums were made. We don't know like what goes into it. But all we do know is that they created something incredible, and he was a major part of that creation.
Agreed.
And so, if the creation itself is just insanely good, which I believe a lot, I believe at least 3 of them are just undeniable classic records, probably better than a lot of albums that have come out in the genre of rap music. And he's by a lot of people's opinions, the better part of that. Why can't he stand as the greatest from the city that he's from? Would be my argument.
Kyle, go ahead, brother.
I have a problem with number 1, to be completely honest. I was more interested in that like 15 through 10 range.
I was concerned
Mostly
about
because
this, personally. I was like, what?
Can you show it to the?
I was like, what is this man doing here?
But so what in
Like,
terms of
at 17?
higher, lower, or he should be higher
He's
or lower?
He's not. He's barely a rapper.
Time out.
I like Jermaine Dupri, one of the best.
You
producers
can't be
of all
What
time.
was the album he had in '98?
Nigga.
The
14,
story of
72?
1472 or some shit. Yeah, Money in the Thing. Yeah,
That's a fucking classic.
undeniable.
Okay.
bro.
Did it? Listen, sure.
Dog.
He had a shit ton of guests. He had Jay. He had Nas.
Number 16
He had
is CeeLo Green.
Off a 98
Okay, that's
album,
nuts.
bro.
That's crazy.
But, yeah, listen, Goody Mob.
I'm just saying, like CeeLo to me is one of the illest ever. I have an essay in me that would argue that Soul Food is better than Outkast's first album. Like,
Okay.
that's the better Dungeon Family debut.
Okay.
And
And
to have him right next to it is insane to me. Like,
good to mention, all these cats come from the Dungeon family, which I do think is dope.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah,
So shout
I
out
think
to
Future
Atlanta,
being a
that's
Dungeon Family descendant is
I'm looking
not
at
a
who
coincidence. I
Jermaine's
think
above.
that is
It's kind of nuts.
a large reason why he's able to do the things he does. I think Future being able to mix the types of music that he's able to mix, or like the sentiments he's able to mix, is not a coincidence that he comes from that lineage. I think he is standing on the shoulders of Andre 3000 in a lot of ways. I don't think, like, as being the age I was when all those Outkast albums come out, I very clearly remember people in the North being like, "What the fuck is this? This shit is weird."
Right.
And if the music Future is making now came out back then, niggas would be like, "What is this bullshit? This is weird."
Right.
Like, if Hendrix came out 2 decades ago, people are like, "Get this shit the fuck out of here."
Can I
bro.
pose you this? I feel like there's more descendants of Future, especially as we
Now, yeah.
But
continue.
if we've established that Future's a descendant of Andre, aren't they also
No, and Andre's goated in that
Andre?
sense.
Like grandkids?
Yeah, I would say
That's
like
how
a lot
lineage
of
works,
people
no?
right now sound
Yeah.
like Future.
Technically, yeah.
For sure. Like,
Technically,
I think a
yeah,
lot of kids
yeah.
like look at Future as like music, like I remember like listening to A Boogie and him being like,
Future, yeah.
Future was just like, he was it. He was like what great
All the
music is
way.
to him. And
Juice
he like
WRLD.
tried, Juice WRLD as well.
Mhm.
All these kids like look at Future as this thing, and if you like break down, like,
And not
what-
Atlanta cats, by the way.
Yeah.
like Uzi was
Yeah.
not, Juice WRLD, not
Mhm.
Atlanta. If you look at like what these kids are looking at in Future, like what Future was able to do, like what made Future such a accessible but also admirable target for them. A lot of that shit came from Andre. Like, but a lot of that would not be able to happen without what Andre did. Like, if the argument is you can't be the GOAT without a solo album, hey, I'm not gonna fully disagree with that. Like, if that's the standard by which you believe needs to be held, then sure.
Can I pose you this?
But
Big Boy's on the list at what number? 5?
8,
I believe.
He's in the same group
I think that's crazy.
He's in the same
I think
group
that's crazy. I
as
think that's
Andre
crazy.
3000 has put out solo albums as
Yeah.
well.
I think Big Boy should be at least 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as long as we
I
keep
think
that.
that's crazy.
Kyle, he's like,
And I love
you
T.I.
see? Why can't we keep the same energy for Big Boy,
I
who
love
is
it.
Well, because he has a larger solo discography, and I don't love the latter releases from Big Boy in that solo discography.
But I think the great stuff
that
outweighs
kind
so
of
much of it.
knocks down a little bit, but I think top 10 is definitely where he needs to be.
I think you can take Outkast.
I think I really like the top 3 that they had, which is why I'm like, who would I kick out of the top 3 to make room
I'm
for
mad
Big
you would
Boy?
just dismiss Tip so easily, though.
Because it's
I
3
love-
Stacks,
I love Tip.
Future,
I'm a
T.I.
huge
Like that's
Tip
a
fan.
Yeah.
it's a pretty Teflon top 3.
And who's number 4? Gucci.
Gucci,
Yeah.
like, and like this is a
Jeezy.
pretty good top
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, that's a good top 5.
I'd probably put Jeezy over Gucci.
I would too,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, I think Tip is great at 3, but it's
Doug
to that point. It's weird to me to have Big Boy so far back, because I think you can, if you were to bifurcate Outkast, you can make Atlanta family trees that grow from both of them that wind up to where we are right now.
Right.
And he was a big part of that. He was a big part of Atlanta. He was a big part of what made Outkast. He was a big part of like the balance of what people disliked about Andre at the time. He was like that counterweight to be like, oh, but look what I'm doing. I rhyme as well as and in the same way as a New York rapper. Just my accent is different. So I think he's extremely important. I mean, T.I. is just T.I.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's like, I'm the king of the South, and everyone was like, you got it.
He was the Jay-Z of the South for a point.
You
Cats
got
don't
it.
want to say that.
I think people who aren't old enough to remember that moment, it may seem silly, but that was a crazy moment when T.I. came out and he was like, I'm the fucking king of the South. Not a city, not a state. He was like, I'm the king of this entire region. And everybody except for Lil Flip was like, yeah. Lil Wayne, who was a fucking comet at the time, just soaring. Even Lil Wayne was like, yeah, he's the king of the South.
Yeah.
I might be the best rapper alive in my head, but he's the king of the South. And he like actually did the things you need to do to be the king of the South. He did not back down from beats. He had #1 songs. He had super smash hit records, super smash hit albums. He was in he had a top 3 movie, song, and album at the same time.
Cult classic ATO.
There we go.
You know, he was that guy. He's like, I actually feel that people don't appreciate T.I. enough
1,000%.
right now. I think this generation doesn't really like appreciate or give him the flowers that he deserves. You know, tantamount to what he's done. He's a giant of Atlanta, in my opinion.
So real quick, let me ask y'all Rushmore for Atlanta.
Ooh, man, that's
Real
tough.
quick.
How you gonna throw that? You should have told us that
So
before.
I'll do mine real quick.
How you gonna think of it and then hit us with it on some like surprise shit?
I'll do mine real quick in no order.
This thing was at home with like a whiteboard. Let me see
Future
here.
Jeezy, Tip, Thug.
Wow.
Yeah,
Future Jeezy.
I'm super critical. And Andre, like I said, he's one of my favorite rhymers of all time. It's just I'm gonna be hard on him just because of the No album.
It goes Reggie, Jay-Z, Tupac, and Biggie, Andre from
Outkast,
Outkast, Jada Corrupt,
Nas,
Nas,
and
and
then
me.
me. Shout out to Eminem. Who wants to? Oh, y'all stuck with this.
Yeah.
Do we got to say this for next week?
Let me see if I can do something. Let's see. Andre. Can Andre and Big Boy share a bust?
Half face.
Mount Rushmore not that big.
Half face. Or you do Andre, then you put Big Boy right here. Like, since Andre apparently gets all the love.
Are these like personal Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, personal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, personal.
Of Atlanta.
Mhm.
Just Atlanta.
Just Atlanta.
Yeah, I think Andre, CeeLo, T.I., and even though I think Jeezy is the better rapper, I think Gucci built more of the infrastructure of Atlanta rap than he did. Than more than most that probably anyone did.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have to throw him on there because I think there's so much of Atlanta rap that without Gucci, if you take it away, so much is gone.
Yeah.
Egos, a lot of cats.
So many producers are gone. So many sounds are gone. And, Zaytoven, all those dudes are just
808's Mafia.
gone.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to put him because he, at a time when Atlanta, was kind of like discovering who it was in the wake of Outkast, when there was like kind of like a land grab, he was building this thing for himself, and that's the sound that kind of prevailed more than like the T.I. sound. The Jeezy sound was very close to it, but it was really, really the Gucci sound and aesthetic that took off. Like I would say, like Sexy Red is a Gucci.
Yeah.
descendant,
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
That fucking kid Ian is a
Yeah.
Gucci descendant.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would say Andre, T.I.,
CeeLo.
Gucci, and CeeLo.
Okay.
Future,
Okay.
T.I., 2 Chainz, Soulja Boy.
2 Chainz.
Yeah.
Wow.
Titty Boy, man.
Interesting.
All right, listen, Titty Boy had a fucking
Interesting.
Run. What was it, 2012? 2011? 2012? Had one of the best feature runs of all time.
Wow.
I love a lot of 2 Chainz features.
And that True Religion tape, what he did? Fire.
And like just manages to still pop up every
Yeah.
now and then.
Yeah.
Like he's consistent in that regard.
Has a very dope discography, by the way. Very underrated,
Yeah.
I would say. So shout out to 2 Chainz. Shout out to the ATL, man. Holding it down, as always. Let's bring it back to Team Billboard, as we have put out our greatest pop stars of the 21st century.
Yeah.
We already unveiled just a few cats.
Honorable mentions.
The honorable mentions, which we have 50 Cent on the R&B hip hop side, by the way. It's 50 Cent, Alicia Keys, Kendrick Lamar, Megan Thee Stallion, J-Lo, Missy Elliott, Nelly, Cardi B, Doja Cat, Future, Post Malone, SZA, Sean Paul, Chris Brown. These are the names that did not make the top 25.
No J-Lo love.
You said what?
No J-Lo love.
Oh, listen. I tried to tell Cash, Miss
She-
Jenny from the block.
She ain't R&B enough for you.
We gotta give J-Lo some love. I know she's going through it right
I
now.
ain't say all that. Hold on.
No, 'cause you know why? I saw a photo of Ben this morning, and he ordered from like DoorDash, and he had a
Probably
huge
was
smile on his
giddy as
face.
shit.
Looking giddy as shit. Like,
Nigga
I
just
gotta
like
pay.
me.
I gotta pay the $600 no more. I'm good with my little $40 meal. J-Lo, we love you, baby. But yeah, no. When you see the caliber of names on this list that did not make it, I'm curious. Anything that was really glaring for you guys?
I'll start off by saying that as someone who helped put together the list, 25 is such a small number for the past 25 years of popular music.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, there were names that didn't even make the honorable mention list that I was giving shout outs to on the other podcasts. Like Mary J. Blige was a big one for me, who I felt should have been on the main list.
How did she not get honorable?
Because, like, even though we're not even talking about her 90s run, just her thousands and tens contributions to the culture and to music, I'm like, yeah, she's got to be there. I also was going to bat for Ciara, someone who, despite, you know, varying returns on her album, she always secures at least one radio hit per album and has for the past 20 years. And also didn't make the honorable mentions list. So it's like the benchmarks are super, super high. But I was happy to write blurbs for SZA and Megan and Sean Paul, and I think those were the three on the R&B hip hop sides that I wrote blurbs for. And those are a couple artists that I think on the SZA and Megan side, they're just a little bit too recent to really get
especially Meg.
21st century like love. That was the issue for a lot of people in the honorable mentions list. They just kind of popped off in the latter, 5 years or so. But someone like Sean Paul, for me, I was like, well, this guy kind of helped usher in what we came to know and love as dancehall stateside from the early 2000s onward, and still popped back up to the 2010s with Bailando, with Cheap Thrills. Those are Grammy-nominated chart-topping hits in the late 2010s.
Yeah.
And he's having a massive moment in the Latin market right now with his crossover songs there in the 2020s. And he's on a national tour, was on a national tour earlier this summer. So that's one person that I really went to bat for personally. But off of this list, I think the people who I really wish did get a chance to squeeze into the main list, I think Nelly was the big one for me. I think there's just so much happening in 2024 specifically that you don't get without Nelly.
Right.
Like, we don't get a Shabuzi Tipsy. We don't get half of what Beyonce's doing on Cowboy Carter on the back half. We don't get a lot of Morgan Wallen shit in the way that he attacks certain songs with the cadence that he uses without what Nelly does. And talking about Midwest rappers, you don't get Sexy Red. Like, someone like Nelly is just like...
You see Chance the Rapper doing the country rendition of Hot in Here?
I did not see that.
Yeah.
What?
It's very good.
I got to see that.
Very good.
No,
But yeah, Nelly was my my guy off the list that you just read off.
Yeah, no, the sing rap, Nelly had that on lock, man.
I wrote a piece maybe this year, last year, when Nelly was on The Shop, and he said something to the effect of, it was harder to blow back then than it is now. And everyone was like, no, that's not true. And I wrote a piece being like, yeah, that shit was.
Yeah.
To be like a legitimate superstar, you had to have massive hits, which Nelly had. Like in the piece I wrote about how, Nelly dropped his album, and then Eminem dropped the Marshall Mathers LP, and Nelly had a slow burn, but then boom, and then they're going neck and neck in the charts against Eminem, against like this, the Eminem album.
And it's a country grammar.
And it's crazy, It's like when Jay-Z says, the only dudes moving units is M, Pimp, Juice, and us. That was very telling.
Like, not many
That's how
people
big he
say
was.
they can't say they have like diamond selling rap albums.
Two.
Like, Nelly can say that two times over. Like,
I love Nelly, man. I remember I traded I think it was a Ja Rule album for a country Grammy.
What's Ja Rule album?
That's how. Whatever was
Smart
out
guy.
at that time.
Nah, not Pain is Love.
Whatever was out at that, I forgot what year that was. But I
hope
remember
it was that shit? The
being on
thing
the
about
train.
I hope it was that one.
being on the train to school. I remember like this kid was like, I got this Nelly album, and I was like, I do fuck with that, like the single. I was like, all right.
I hope it
And
was Blood of My Eye.
I traded
man.
it for him, and I became a fan. I bought every album after that.
Wow.
Since then, I was a huge fan of his.
Yeah, I think what derailed Nelly, because I'm thinking 01 to when did Sweatsuit drop? 06, 05?
maybe 05.
I think that was his run, and that's the thing. I think of like a lot of these cats, like y'all know I'm a huge 50 head. 50's run was probably like 5.
But I'll say for Nelly, 2013,
Oh,
Florida
you talking about
Georgia
the-
Line Cruise remix that ushers in
Yeah.
like the bro
Great call.
country thing.
I mean, I also don't
Like-
recall 50 Cent did not make the actual
5-year run.
Like,
Massive, but it was.
He was another one. It
03,
was just like the run is just like where if we're talking about the first 25 years of the century and musically you kind of stop being relevant before the 2010s really
Yeah,
kick
that's-
off. It's like
it was like,
Yeah, and I get money. In
Yeah,
between,
but,
you know,
like,
I mean, look who else is up. Like we got Christina Aguilera is another similar one where it's like
Yeah.
the early part of your run is just so freaking massive, but then musically it kind of falls off from there.
Yeah, I think
Alicia Keys is another one.
A Keys. I don't know. I feel like A Keys kind of got cold after.
but she had
Girls on
such a
Fire.
run though.
Yeah, Girl on
Yeah,
Fire
she
is
had
like
such
the
an amazing
last one.
I think it was from hers. It's definitely a decade plus. I think for me, Chris. I look at Chris and it's like, 20 years of Chris Brown's next year.
Yeah.
What he's been able to do on the R&B circuit, freaking phenomenal. Just him and Beyonce are the only artists at this point to still do arena tours. So for him to do that on a consistent effort is amazing to me. Now, obviously, the blemishes do it and say a lot. We can't dispel what he did in his past, obviously with Rihanna and just other incidents and how that came and
Corruption.
affected his career. Yeah, it fucking tsunami'd the shit out of him. But I still think of certain records like a Go Crazy that went top 5, and No Guidance that went top 5.
I think he like swept Soulchild Awards that year too with that album.
Right, and then even like the features, he did a Freaky Friday with Lil Dicky that went top 10. You know, like Chris Brown, his tone, I think he has one of the best voices in music that can just penetrate radio to this day.
I think he changed radio.
Yeah,
I think if you listen to radio pre fame or graffiti or fame around then, and then post, you will see a lot of artists glomming onto that like alchemy that Chris Brown put together for his hits.
yeah,
Like there's so many artists that just try to sound like Chris Brown, try to make Chris Brown songs. Like I remember going to hear who's the dude from One Direction?
Zayn.
And like they were pushing his music, and they were basically like, without saying it, they were like, yeah, we tried to make Chris Brown songs
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
And
He had a demo of How Do You Sleep or maybe a remix. No, not How Do You Sleep. Back to Sleep.
Back to Sleep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like very much believe that they were like, they had Chris Brown as like, you can be this.
Right.
That
You play
Bieber, not Journals, Changes was also very, very
Yeah.
Chris. Down to
Yeah.
his, just even the way he was riffing on that album. I was like, oh, okay, you only had Chris Brown playing in the studio.
Yeah. I mean,
He stayed with a radio hit.
And he was like one of
Always.
the
I'm looking at
few
his
R&B acts to like
discography. He
actually
has-
survive the EDM era while also playing into it. Like
Yeah.
he did the EDM pop stuff, but still was able to sustain real R&B hits afterwards. Like didn't really tarnish his overall rep in the genre.
I agree. No, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
Chris is ridiculously consistent. Like
flowers,
this is
yeah.
he's very rarely without a song charting somewhere on Billboard. Like his longevity wise, that's pretty undeniable.
yeah. Last year and this year it was freaking sensational. What was the joint? Under the
Residuals right
Influence?
now is going crazy.
Yeah. Like he just stays with a hit
He's the best dancer
easily.
out easily.
Yeah.
You know, the guy is just, who's better?
He's like, he listen.
No,
On the men's side or the women's side?
Ooh,
both. I'm curious.
Okay. Normani absolutely.
I
is
was
a
gonna
better
say
dancer.
Normani. Yeah.
I think Normani's great. Yeah, I think Normani's great.
Like technically, because she's like trained, so like she is
Yeah.
gonna be a better dancer. But yeah,
I think Chris has like, it's like the way Usain Bolt was able to run faster because his body was just built in a weird way. I think Chris Brown has that, where his body.
he's probably the
allows
best
him
natural
to
dancer that we have right
do
now.
things that you could, like this guy was like doing backflips and Tims and like then moonwalking in them. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, just a prodigiously talented individual who has managed to release hit songs and records and albums for, just looking back at this, at least 20 years.
It's
Going
20
on
years.
20 years.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Next year makes 20 for the debut album, which
Yeah.
is freaking nuts. So
Damn.
classic. Shout out to the honorable mentions, y'all. We love y'all over here. You know, and shout out to Team Billboard for that list as well. If you haven't already, make sure you check it out. It's a tough list.
Rolling
so
out
kudos
the
to y'all.
whole top 25 throughout the rest of this calendar year. So stay tuned in December for number one.
I can't wait to see how it looks at the end. Before we wrap, of course, we got to give our picks. New, old, whatever y'all feeling for the week. Gentlemen, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Bring it back to Atlanta. I weirdly stumbled across, not weirdly, I was just on streaming and it popped out.
That can feel weird sometimes.
I just clicked, I saw it and I was like, what the hell is this? It looked fake.
Oh, wow.
I just had no idea about it. The song called Thank God by T.I., Young Dro, and Kirk Franklin.
Big Kirk.
So this is new.
And
this
Sunday
is new.
Service.
Okay, this is new.
Yeah, it's a new song.
Wow.
I believe it's a T.I. song. Okay. I don't know what it's on. I don't know what it's going to be a part of, but it's a T.I. song. Starts off with Young Dro, and Young Dro, who I haven't seen in a while, and I was like actually wondering a few months ago, like, where is Dro? Because for a while, Dro had a bunch of regional hits. He would stay with like a regional hit every few months. They all didn't make it up here, but they had he would stay with some hits down in Atlanta, but he just was gone for a while. And in the verse, he's talking about how he was a sex addict who was addicted to fentanyl.
This is Dro.
Wow. And how he almost died. And, he's like, thank God I made it. And then, T.I. has a really touching verse just about his career thus far and how, he's been in a lot of trouble and he puts his faith in the Lord and all the other stuff. Then Kirk Franklin comes in and does his Kirk Franklin thing. And Sunday Service is on it, which I didn't know was a standalone thing.
Jesus is Born is a better album than Jesus is King.
That's a fact.
Amen.
That's a fact.
Amen.
They're on it and they do their thing. It's a pretty enjoyable song. I was surprised when I clicked it. I expected it to be complete trash, but I sat there just like.
How many?
So is it better than the Will Smith Kirk song to you?
Way better.
Okay.
Way better.
How many of them are there in Sunday Service?
I have no idea.
Because I was thinking, how do you get paid?
Well, that was the problem with EA, right?
I remember.
They were just
we're
not getting
we're not
paid.
getting paid for traveling to like Jamaica.
And it was like
randomly.
50 of them. Yeah.
They, like took over an entire plane.
Of course, Kanye assembles a mass choir.
Yeah.
Imagine paying 50.
Flies them around the world and does not pay them.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know what that song's gonna be on. I don't know why they made it. I don't know.
He had a testimony to share. He didn't need to attach to anything.
Maybe it was just weighing heavy on his heart. He had to talk to God.
Yeah.
So he did it, and it's called Thank God.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if this is hopefully on T.I.'s supposedly his last album. So it could be a good way to close out.
Yeah. It's very adult.
Okay. Amen.
Adult contemporary.
Very adult contemporary.
Amen. Brother Kyle?
I was talking to our lovely producer, Emily, yesterday about this being Sabrina Carpenter's week.
Shout out.
And I was going to pick the song Bad Chem off the
Okay.
new album.
Okay.
She samples To Me Is So Into You. Great song. Great sample choice. But my actual choice is Mutt by Leon Thomas. It is the lead single for his new album coming out in the fall. Basically, it's kind of just him processing post-breakup hoe tendencies of his own. And I was like, I feel you on this. And I want to put this on repeat. And I had it on repeat my entire commute here. So Mutt is my pick for this week.
Shout out to Leon Thomas. Bad
Yes,
boy.
sir.
Songwriter, producer. Under the Tie Tree, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's a monster.
On his imprint, I believe.
He's his first
artist, yeah.
Mhm.
Shout out to he's tied on his executive shit too. I love
Ty,
it.
he told us in the story that we did on him, he was saying how he was looking for an artist that could basically do what he does. Play multiple instruments, write their own songs, write for others, sing. And I think he does all that.
Yep.
And I think, Ty was like, he's better than me. So,
Wow.
I'm excited to
That would be correct.
see what he does.
It's a better singer. Love Ty.
Yo, the
Love
Stray is crazy.
Is he a Disney kid? No.
The Nickelodeon kid.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Nickelodeon.
He and Ariana were on Victorious together.
And Sabrina's a Disney kid.
Sabrina's a Disney kid. She's like the last generation we probably will get of like a Disney to pop star thing.
Low key,
That's
Nickelodeon.
what Bob Iger needs to get back on. He needs to get that pipeline.
I was gonna say
back
Nickelodeon,
together.
Disney. They just need to be like record labels, honestly.
They were.
Yeah, they
Disney had Hollywood Records.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's what they released all their stuff
yeah
on.
Hollywood Records was.
That was what Sabrina's is like. Sabrina's like 6th, 7th album, but she had like 5 Hollywood records. Disney
It's funny. There was a
albums.
tweet that was going around yesterday that was like, or a few days ago, that was like, man, look at pop, just minting brand new stars like Sabrina Carpenter. You know, why can't rap do this? And I'm like, she's not new.
She's been around for literally 10 years.
Forever.
I was watching with my sisters. Girl Meets World was the spinoff of Boy Meets
Yeah.
World that Disney produced. That's what she was on.
Yeah.
Like this girl's been around for fucking ever.
Crazy. I never
She's
put
been
two and
working
two
like
together.
crazy.
And it's nuts because I've been seeing Cash trying to give it his best new artist nod, and I'm like, but she's been out here.
It's one of those weird things where it's like she's been percolating forever, and this
Yeah.
is finally like her actual breakthrough year.
It's more like old record label. I mean, old music industry where like you're allowed to develop and like find your voice. And,
Yeah.
You know, try things. And whereas now it's like, if you don't come fully formed,
We don't want
you're
it.
fucked.
Yeah, fuck you, respectfully.
So
Yeah, shout out to Miss Sabrina. She is vying for a #1 spot against Mr. Travis Scott. So we will know next week.
Ooh.
It's the final tally on that. For me, I'm gonna go with Mr. Isaiah Falls, Drugs and Lullabies. I got into Isaiah because he put out a record called Florida Baby.
yeah,
Came out, fucking heater.
Yeah.
And that record alone, I was like, let me give this guy a follow on IG. And he pretty much took all the snippets that he had for this album and he was just teasing them on the gram. And each teaser, I was like, yo, this guy fucking got it. Like, there's certain cats who just know how to fucking pen sticky melodies.
yeah.
And if you look at him, he doesn't give you like that natural artist look. He's just like probably a dude in his do-rag, just out here, just happy to be here shit.
I love it.
So when the project finally came out and I got to hear all the snippets in full, I'm hearing like bits of like Justin Timberlake in terms of the production. I'm hearing a little bit of Drake, like my go-to tracks, Honey, Diva, Candy, and it's 12 songs, but it's a brisk listen. It's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even feel like it.
Shit.
So he has like a tour coming. He's only doing 5 dates, and he's doing New York. He's doing Baby All Right. I will be at that show, God willing, because I want to see if the live. That's the main thing. How you know an artist got it. If the live matches the studio. So shout out to Mr. Isaiah Falls. He has a banger on his hand. No features, by the way, just all him. So that's my pick for this week.
I love it.
Yeah.
Check it out.
So thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of Billboard Unfiltered, and we will see you guys next time.